I stepped out of my tent that morning into silence. Fresh snow covered the ground. The canyon walls were softened by white. And just a few feet away from me, a small group of deer stood quietly watching. It already felt like the trip had shifted before I'd even taken a step. I'd come to Zion National Park with a plan, or so I'd thought. I thought I'd be heading up Angel's Landing that morning. But the snow, the trail conditions, and the uncertainty made me pause. There was a flicker of disappointment. That familiar feeling when something you imagined doesn't unfold the way you expected. For a moment, I caught myself scanning for alternatives, trying to fix the day, trying to replace what I thought I was losing. But instead of forcing a new plan, I decided just to move, not chase anything, not try to manufacture a highlight, just take a walk and see what unfolded. I'd meant to head towards a particular trail, but I missed the bridge. And somehow I found myself walking towards the Watchman Trail instead. At the start, the snow was coming down hard. The trail felt quiet, a little uncertain. Visibility was low enough that I honestly didn't know how far I'd be able to go safely. A couple passed me on their way down. They told me the trail was safe higher up, and that the views were spectacular. It was a small exchange, but it shifted something inside me. It felt like permission to keep going. So I stopped, put on my microspikes, and checked my layers. Base layer dry, mid-layer warm but breathable, puffy ready for stops. Out here, preparation isn't about control. It's about giving yourself the chance to stay present once the experience begins. Because when your body is regulated, your mind gets to soften. When your mind softens, you actually notice where you are. As I climbed, the snowfall began to ease. Not all at once, but gradually. Clouds lifted in slow layers, patches of blue started to appear overhead, and the canyon began revealing itself. Snow resting on red rock, peaks glowing with orange and rust tones beneath the white. Winter and desert sharing the same frame. It felt like the best of both worlds, a place I already loved showing me a version of itself I'd never seen before. With every turn, the view widened. The river below, cliffs rising in every direction, clouds drifting between canyon walls like breath. The climb was steady, but it didn't feel forced. I wasn't pushing for the top anymore. I was just curious what might be around the next bend. And eventually I reached the overlook. I stepped out onto the open rock and realized I was completely alone. No voices, no footsteps, just canyon, sky, snow, and silence in every direction. 360 degrees of space. And something inside me cracked open. I felt it in my chest first, then in my throat, then in my eyes. I just stood there for a long time, not thinking, not analyzing, just letting the moment land. Because sometimes the most powerful experiences aren't the ones we plan. They're the ones that find us when we stop trying to manage the day. Standing there, I realized something quietly but clearly. If the trip had ended right then, if that had been the only hike I did in Zion, I would feel completely satisfied. It reminded me that the goal isn't to collect summits or check off trails. The goal is to be present enough that when something real appears, you recognize it. You let it matter. Of course, I didn't know yet how many other incredible moments were still ahead of me on this trip. The Narrows, Bryce Canyon, Angel's Landing. But in that moment, none of that was important because I wasn't chasing the next experience anymore. I was just there, grounded, open, so grateful, and aware that sometimes the best parts of a journey arrive quietly. Not when we execute the plan, but when we release it. That morning on the Watchman Trail reminded me that preparation matters, flexibility matters, but presence matters most. Because when you allow the day to unfold instead of forcing it, you don't just see the landscape, you feel it. And sometimes, if you're lucky, you leave with something deeper than the view. You leave with a memory that stays alive inside you long after the trail ends.